Hi everyone, I'm Shakyra Mabone.
And I'm Jack Williams.
And welcome to Reeling It In, the podcast where we take the moment to reel in the best and worst film moments while keeping our commentary 100% real.
And today we're joined by Maddie, and we're going to be talking about sports movies. So grab your popcorn and let's reel it in.
Yes.
But before we do that, it's St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, well, not at the time this will be released, but y'all get the
We're filming this on St. Patrick's Day, so I just figured I'd throw out some recommendations for you guys.
Yeah.
Sing Street, Dating Amber, The Banshees of Inisherin, I believe it's pronounced. All great Irish films. So,
what's the premises of it? Like, if you can quickly sum up.
Banshees of Inisherin, Colin Farrell is friends with, I forgot his name, older actor. One day he just decides he doesn't want to be friends with him for no clear reason, and that's pretty much the movie. It's a great movie,
so it's like an Irish goodbye?
Kinda, yeah.
Okay.
Sing Street, coming of age. Dating Amber, also a coming of age. Dating Amber's fun. It's a gay man and then a gay girl, and they both pretend like they're dating, so they can kind of throw off suspicion. It's a great movie.
So like a lavender marriage type situation.
Yeah.
I see.
So great movies all around. You guys should go watch them. Support the Irish on St. Paddy's Day or St. Paddy's Week.
Yeah.
Maddie.
Hi.
You're here to talk about sports movies.
I am. Thank you guys for having me on.
Yeah,
yes, no
of course. Maddie, you are you cover hockey here.
I do. Yeah, it's quite fun right now, especially. But yeah, I mean, I love sports in general. Getting into sports movies, sports TV shows. I mean, anything under the sun. I just love it.
Do you find yourself drawn, or maybe more drawn to hockey films now that you're covering hockey?
I think I do, but at the same time, I've never seen the Mighty Ducks, and I feel like I'm not a good hockey fan since I haven't seen the Mighty Ducks. But I've seen Miracle like 15,000 times.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I would say yes, I may be a little more drawn to movies about hockey, but I also Remember the Titans is in my top 3. The Sandlot, like there's more out there than just
Mighty Ducks. You really just unlocked a memory for me. You have to go watch it. I completely forgot about that movie. It's such a good movie.
I have friends that tell me that I really need to watch Mighty Ducks, and I just have not gotten around to do it, and I need to.
It's one of the classic coming of age sports, which I love those movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess big news lately is not about hockey, unfortunately, but in the realm of soccer or football. Ted Lasso just got renewed for season 4. Which I know, Maddie, you're a huge fan of. You told me before the show.
I am.
So, yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm excited. I mean, I feel like I've heard, people are like, why didn't you just end it there? I mean, season 3 had just a magnificent ending. I didn't think that they were going to come back for season 4. Was I hoping for it? Literally all day, every day. But for them to come back and announce that they're doing another season, and this time it's going to be about a women's soccer team, I'm thrilled. I'm so excited. I just think that there's so much that they can do with it now that they're making it about a women's team. But Ted Lasso was just an amazing show in general. There's the upside to it, and then there's sad parts to it, and it just it wasn't just all about soccer. It was about the friendships that you make along the way, if we're being completely basic here. But it was just I will never have bad things to say about the show.
Yeah, and that fish out of water trope was just so fun to me. The concept of just putting a guy from the South in the UK is such an interesting premise, and then kind of using because I think when you think of cultural the cultural difference that you could kind of use other than obviously him just being from the South is soccer, because that's one of the big things. Obviously whenever Americans say call it soccer, you always hear people being oh, it's football, so I think that's one of the great things about that show. And I do think I do agree. I think they ended it in a way where they certainly could have just ended it and not gone anywhere with it, or they could have kept going, because obviously I felt like Ted's sort of arc kind of wrapped up nicely, but then there was that scene where Keely kind of goes up to Rebecca and is a woman's team, and she's oh yeah. But yeah, I guess how do you feel about Ted returning? Because I think Jason Sudeikis said he's coming back as a character, right? So I wonder how you feel about that.
Yeah, so he was on a podcast with the Kelsey brothers, and he said something about how he's returning as the head coach of the women's soccer team. So I think that, it's gonna be weird, like, not seeing him in the role of the head coach of the AFC Richmond men's team, but, like, trying to take on a different role. Like, obviously, coaching women compared to men is a completely different thing.
Yeah.
So seeing him try to tackle not only coming back to coach more soccer, but coaching a women's team is just gonna be, like, super interesting to see.
100%. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a great time. Kyra, I know you haven't seen Ted Lasso yet.
I have not seen it. I only seen a couple episodes. It was really funny, but I can tell, like, the show basically come across, like, heavy hitter, you know, topics and things like that, because even in the first episode, who he was on the phone with, I didn't really quite catch that. Was it, like, his ex-wife or anything? Yeah. Or
I think so, yeah.
I thought it was, like, an ex-wife or soon-to-be ex-wife. Only seen, like, you know, the first couple episodes. But, you know, so, yeah, I really... it really kind of, like, reached out to me, to be honest. So
yeah,
I'm gonna continue to watch it for sure.
Yeah, his journey, like, with kind of, because, like, the reason he goes to the UK is because of his the divorce. He's kind of he's the type of character who kind of pushes his problems away, or
he
runs away from them. Yeah,
problems,
exactly,
right.
and he kind of masks it with, like, this sort of, like, really caring, kind of giddy personality.
Like,
you know?
My life is all together. Yeah, I kind of got that too. So so from what, you know, you guys just said, you know, so it seems to be Ted Lasso, he's going to have, like, basically like a character development throughout the season.
Yeah.
Okay, I
think it's just, I think a lot of the concern, I guess, with where the show is going to go is just because by season 3, he had kind of, you see him through 3 seasons, kind of, these problems come up, you know, he has to face them, and then by season 3, he's finally kind of happy, he's content. So I think a lot of the sort of, like, anxiety from fans probably comes from, like, okay, what are they going to do with him now?
His
you know, it's
now.
like, they don't want
we are used to him as being, like, the destructive, you know, person. Okay, I see.
Yeah, so it's like, where are they going to go with that? But I'm curious. I love Jason Sudeikis, and I have faith that they'll...
and, you know, that's what I noticed about, like, sports in general, like, sports film. They kind of, like, focus on, like, you know, the emotional and the personal struggles of, like, the characters or, like, the athletes besides... Or, you know, of course the sports come in because, I mean, it's a sports, you know, movie or whatever. But, like, I really like that because it honestly, well, first of all, if some audiences, you know, they're not really, like, interested in sports or anything, but they're still interested of, like, going to see it, you know, it can still reach out to them in a way. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
That's certain, because I didn't think I would like Ted Lasso when I started because I knew nothing about soccer. And then I kind of watched it and I was like, well, soccer really isn't much of this. I mean, it's obviously, it's like, I mean, it's a lot of it, but they don't show the actual game. You don't need to know anything about soccer in order to enjoy it. Like, you don't need that in order to, like, attach to the characters. Like, I feel like by the end of season 1, I was just like, I want more of this. This is awesome.
Like, me, personally, I don't know jack crap about football or boxing, but I still, like, you know, watch it because it's entertaining. And I could just, like, sometimes, well, not all the time, but sometimes relate to some of the characters in the film and things like that. So I think that's just what's catching to me, I would say. I can't really speak for most people, but yeah.
And I think the best sports movies for me, or shows or whatever, are the ones where by the end I'm like, I kind of want to go watch this now. Like, I want to watch the actual sport now, you know?
Like, now I'm super hooked on soccer. No, I agree with you on, like, because sometimes you don't go into a show kind of, like, knowing much about the sport, knowing much about anything in the show, but you attach to a character, and that's how I felt about Rebecca, who, like, as a fellow woman in sports, I can appreciate the fact that she's the owner of this club, and she's just working every single day tirelessly to keep the team's success. Even after, like, the mess that was created in the first season after her ex-husband left and all of that stuff.
And I love what it does with that, because that plot is very similar to, I don't know if you've seen Major League. Major League is this film. It was a comedy where this woman. I think she buys, like, the Cleveland Indians just to run it into the ground so she can make money from selling it.
And that's
exactly what Rebecca does. Except I think it takes it and it's like, well, what if we added more depth to that? And, like, maybe she has actual reasons for doing that. And, you know, that's what I love so much about Ted Lasso, is that it kind of it took that character type and made her, like, gave her feelings, made her interesting, you know?
It definitely did. I think that it not only did it give her feelings, but I think that developed her character a lot too, because then you get to the end of the season where she, like, it becomes a plot line of she comes into Ted's office every like last episode or two in the season, and she's like, I have news for you, and he's like, oh no, what is it? And that's how it started, with her finally like growing to know what kind of guy Ted Lasso really was, and telling him the truth about it. And I think that really developed her character very well, because it gave her the chance to apologize and see Ted through and see what could become of this club even after they were relegated.
And they're both very similar characters.
They are.
They follow very similar journeys, albeit to very different, because I mean, there's gender differences, there's all these other differences. Yeah. And I love how, because I think they there's that scene in I think it's the end of season 2 or something, where they do that thing where she's like, I have to tell you something, and it's sort of there's this sort of maybe implication that maybe they were like she was gonna like profess some kind of love to him, and then they begin the next season where they're at this house, but it ends up being like this huge like dupe, and it's like they're not actually. And I remember watching an interview with the writers or something, and they were talking about how they were kind of making fun of fans who thought that Ted was going to end up with Rebecca.
I did.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I thought, me too. I thought they would. I thought they were going to.
I thought they were too.
I really felt the romantic, sexual tension in front of between them. That's crazy. Wow. And
I think
that's interesting,
because the writers were like, they wanted to sort of dispel the idea that because you have two heterosexual.
Yeah, I was just going to say that too.
Characters, who, male and female, that they're going to end up together. They wanted to kind of dispel that idea and be like, you can have a platonic friendship and they can just end up like buddies.
Which I love.
Right.
I love that.
In the long run, like, I had to get over myself and be like, they're not going to end up together. Yeah. But the way that they developed their friendship to the final season, not final anymore, but to season 3 of like them being in the airport together, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is when it's going to happen, and they're like,
no cliches.
They're just friends.
No,
there's no cliches.
And I look back at it, and I'm like, they never actually really implied it, other than that one scene where they kind of were just making fun of the fans. And I was like, wow, I think we've just come to expect that from TV. We've come to expect that in like these modern stories.
Yeah.
And I love what they did with that. I like how they didn't sort of cave to that idea.
Yeah.
But stories, I think that's certainly one of the greatest parts of sports fiction, is this idea of it doesn't have to be about the sport. It's about the story surrounding the sport. It's about sort of off the field or whatever. And I think one movie we were talking about before is Creed, which is the sequel series to the Rocky films. And I kind of wanted to go on a little bit of a tangent, because I read this essay, I guess, from my class by James Baldwin, who we should all be familiar with. It's called The Fight, and it is about Floyd Patterson, who was the heavyweight champ in boxing, and he's fighting Sonny Liston. And this was in the 50s or 60s. Anyway, there was this big fight. I forgot who won. I think it might have been Patterson. But anyway, months later, after the fight, after it's all said and done, who wins, Baldwin publishes this essay called The Fight, Patterson versus Liston. And it's not about the fight, which is, it's actually about him talking to these guys, and just kind of giving their stories and giving them their perspectives leading up to the fight. And it was just kind of this idea of, and I think he was sort of one of the first people, or he's part of this sort of journalistic movement of telling stories surrounding the events of like these sports instead of just about the sports, because TV and radio comes out, you kind of have to find other ways to tell stories.
Right.
And I just love this piece because I think it in a lot of ways laid the framework for a lot of the modern sports fiction that we see.
Oh yeah.
And I was just kind of, I found myself thinking of it when I was watching Creed.
Yeah, and like another, like going back to the essay, another way you can look at it is just like Baldwin, he was basically like using like the fight as like social struggles and things like that, because you got to think about what was going on in the 50s and 60s, Exactly.
And it was, two black men fighting,
Exactly. So I just like the crap, I'm losing my train of thought. Juxtaposition, I guess, like that.
Yeah.
Of it. So, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, those stories, I think, are, it's a great opportunity to tell stories relating to whatever the social or political context in the world is.
Oh, yeah.
And I think, because I watched the first 2 Creed movies. I've not yet gotten to the third one, which I know you were mad at me about because you said it's the best one. No, I know.
I was like, you really gotta see it. I mean, I don't know. I think it's the best one in my opinion. Yeah, I really like Jonathan Majors before, what just happened recently. But, we're not going to talk about it. But yeah.
I know I like what they did with the character, how they kind of connected it to Rocky and, like, the original story without, like, making him too dependent on the character. Like, he kind of becomes his own.
Because I think, that's not, I think. It's just, like, that's the whole point of Creed. Like, Adonis or Donnie, whoever you want to call him. His whole point is, like, I'm not trying to be like my dad. I want to be my own person. So it's just like, yes, you still do get the Rocky storyline where, he's getting older and, he's getting sick and stuff like that. And he's fighting with that. See another, mirror, he's fighting with other personal aspects of his life and things like that. But exactly. So it's just like, I can't really, I'm so sorry. I'm blanking out really bad.
Good.
But yeah, it's just like, it's just all about, like, self-identity, honestly, so.
Yeah, it's like, and then I think, like I said, I haven't seen the third one, but it seems very much like, he has this guy coming up from his past, so he's fighting him physically, but he's also kind of fighting his past, which I think is a great metaphor.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think these boxing stories are great, because this class I read this for, one of the points I made was, boxing is such an interesting sport for me, because it's 2 people fighting. And when we think of fighting, we think of, like, malice, we think of, like, anger and stuff. But that's a sport where it's like you're not actually mad at the person you're punching, or you don't have to be.
Sport.
Yeah. I guess that works for any sport.
I was gonna say yes, I agree, but like speaking in like Creed, obviously, he had to like go against the son who never killed his. Well, he did kill his dad. Sorry, spoilers, but
you haven't seen Rocky 4 yet. I don't know. Where have you been?
So it was just like a lot of people was just like telling Adonis like just do it, to prove yourself that you are a great fighter, not because you want to get some type of revenge and things like that. Yeah. So,
and that's also like a great, I think, sort of theme it tackles is like masculinity and trying to like be better.
Most definitely.
But yeah, I certainly like. I think that's like I think. Those stories, obviously, you kind of need those for, like, fiction stories. But I think just, like, as a sport, I find boxing, like, crazy. Because, like, it's, like, you don't have to have any malice towards that person, but you still have to punch them. You have to hurt them,
you still got to lock in,
Exactly, yeah. So I've always just found it, and it's such, like, an old... I feel like since the beginning of time, like when you think of like the Romans and stuff, like fighting was like that was a sport,
I just love how you just like go back into like historical terms and things like that. Like that is so cute.
I know, but it's crazy when you think about it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like the Roman, that was like, I guess it kind of makes sense when you think about it.
No, it makes perfect sense. I mean,
what can we do for entertainment? I'll just throw some guys in a pit and
just
let them go at each other.
See who comes out alive, I guess.
Exactly, yeah.
Have you seen the Karate Kid franchise?
Oh, yeah.
Now, to me, martial arts is, it's sports in a way, but it's sports is its own category. I was just thinking about like that, like how, I don't know, like would you consider that as revenge though? Like, because he get beat up by this bully and things like that, and but I don't really see that as revenge. I see that as proving yourself wrong, proving yourself that you are a stronger person. That ties back into, like the whole masculinity point and things like that. But
yeah, I think it's definitely, in Karate Kid, I think it's definitely like, probably both of those. I think it's a great revenge story.
That's what I was going to say. Because you can kind of like tackle both topics with the Karate Kid, because is he trying to get revenge? Maybe a little bit. But is he also trying to prove to himself that he's more than what he was when he got there? Like there's different ways that you can go about the Karate Kid, and like it being both a coming of age story. Obviously it's a coming of age story, but like I don't know, I think there's a lot of different ways that you can kind of twist and like see the different angles of how the writers took the Karate Kid.
I think you're talking about the original one or the...
both in my opinion. Wait a minute.
I always forget about the Jaden Smith one.
What? Okay, do you guys like the Jaden?
Oh, I love the Jaden Smith. I grew up with that movie, yeah.
I think that I've only seen the original.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Really?
I think I'm a bad sports fan sometimes.
No. To be honest, Jaden Smith Karate Kid does has like, not controversy, but a lot of people say like that movie is terrible, which is like, I'm not going to hold you up. As an adult rewatching it, It was kind of bad. It was just a tad bit. But it was just like, it was made for children, though. Yeah, you know, like, who cares?
I think if it's very nicely into like the Mighty Ducks, Sandlot, you know, like those like coming of age sports movies where it's like it's just like a kid, you know, and he's coming of age, and but I think I don't know, it kind of differs from a lot of those like coming of age ones, because I feel like a lot of them are more meant to be comedies, you know? Like, I think Mighty Ducks is certainly a comedy, and then, like, The Sandlot. I don't know if The Sandlot's a comedy as much of...
Well, in a way.
Ooh, yeah, I would say yes, but I don't know with The Sandlot. I don't know. I feel like that's a really tough one to kind of try and figure out, because The Sandlot is both like, yes, there's hilarious parts to that movie and it cracks me up, but there's also parts to it where it's like, that's really deep, like that actually kind of hit the feels a little bit. Like it almost seems like a don't judge a book by its cover. Like that's the deep message behind The Sandlot, especially when you get into the later plot of The Beast and Mr. Myrtle
and The Sandlot 2.
Right.
Or not The Sandlot 2.
I did not see that one.
I haven't seen the other two. I heard they're horrible.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
No, The Sandlot, though, certainly one I'm always going to be close to my heart. Can't tell you how many times I've watched that movie.
I actually watched it a couple weeks ago.
Which is so great, because I feel like, you know, it's a 90s movie. And I think the fact that I could grow up in the 2010s and still, like, love it and identify with it is just such, like, an amazing...
I was going to say, like, a lot of 90s movies, they still, like, when I say they, I'm saying, like, you know, writers and things like that, they still put a way to, like, put that emotional aspect on, like, a funny movie and things like that. Like, okay, what's the lesson here, guys, you know? Right. But, yeah, just wanted to say that. Speaking of, like, soccer, have you guys seen Kicking and Screaming with Will Ferrell?
When I was younger, I did, but I honestly would not be able to tell you the plot of that movie at this point.
I was gonna say it's been a minute, but I was just like reminiscent on that, honestly.
Yeah, it's been a while since honestly, I should probably rewatch that movie just for the sake of it being Will Ferrell, because I love Will Ferrell.
Yeah,
but
he's funny.
He cracks me up.
Yeah, but I think baseball movies, going back to like The Sandlot and all these other things, I feel like it's like a genre in itself. Just because
totally is.
It's such an American sport, and like you need like, you know, which like so is like football or whatever. But it, you know, I don't know, like the baseball movies, they always have this feel to them.
They're just different than everything else. Like there's something about a baseball.
It's always like
movie.
there's like it's like a scrappy kids, and they're coming together, and they're just, and I love like what was the other one? Oh yeah, the perfect, or no, Rookie of the Year. That's what I'm thinking of. Kid he like breaks his arm and then he can just throw baseballs really fast, which is just like sounds like such a stupid plot, but like it's like amazing.
Dang, that's a throwback, honestly.
I don't know. I feel like you think of all of these baseball movies, like what's the one with Tom Hanks? He's in a baseball movie, and I can't think of what it's called, but it's there.
League of Their Own.
A League of Their Own. Like there's so
say Field of Dreams, but I was like, that's Kevin.
That's a good but that one too. Like there's so many baseball movies out there. You're right. Like it is in a category of itself. Like there's just something about a baseball movie where you can connect them, and they all bring each other. Like they all come back to the same starting point.
Yeah.
But why? Who knows? But. A baseball movie is just a classic.
It's something compelling about it. You know, it's America's sport. It's like an American movie, and I think, especially
it's like
the ones
feel good movie too. So yeah.
And then, sorry.
No, take your time.
Because we talk about like kids in movies, right? Or like coming of age movies, and what I love about like the Benchwarmers, you know, is that it almost like it takes a spin. It like puts that on its head, where it's like, what if instead of like some kids coming together, we just make them adults, and it's the exact same thing. Yeah.
But then with the Benchwarmers though too, you also get the ending where they bring all of these kids that were never good at baseball together, and are they still horrible at baseball? Yes, but they're finally like able to like almost heal their inner self of being like able to play baseball as a kid. Yes.
And you know what that remind me of? Have you guys seen this movie called Rebound with Martin Lawrence?
No.
What? Oh my gosh. Rebound. So basically, it's such an old ass movie. I'm sorry, but it's such an old movie. So basically, Rebound is about like Martin Lawrence. He is his big time ESPN basketball coach and things like that. And I think he got fired because he had like a really bad temper and things like that. Yeah. So his agent was like, oh, well, I can get you a job as a high school basketball or middle school basketball coach at your old middle school. And he was like, nah, I'm not doing that at first. But, you know, he just do it because I think he was just like trying to get his, you know, good image back and things like that. Like, oh, look, you know, all that good stuff. So he goes to the middle school, you know, he tried to coach these kids. These kids are terrible. First of all, nobody even come to the game. It's only like the coach, assistant coach who don't really coach or things like that. They just eat pizza all the day. But it's a really cute, like, you know, coming of age story. And it just reminded me of that because, like, later in the film, Martin Lawrence, he get, like, close with one of the, like, players and things like that. And he really tried to, like, I guess, shape them up in their very own way based on their personalities, like each of the players' personalities. So, yeah.
Yeah.
No, you guys should watch that. It's really funny.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I haven't seen it, but I'm just kind of. It's like an underdog story, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I love about them. You know, it's like they're band of kids, underdogs. You know,
band of kids or three grown men.
Or three grown men, beating the odds somehow. I don't know how three grown men are really beating the odds if they're playing against kids, but you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's another. But Benchwarmers, certainly, that's one I grew up with. Dodgeball is another one.
Yeah.
Classic comedy. Grew up with that one.
They kind of go hand in hand with each other. Yeah. I feel like of the, like a group of older guys who just want to play a sport and not get bullied for it, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the Benchwarmers is just such a good movie. Like, it's a feel good, like, you'll sit there and crack up laughing, and then you kind of get your feels at the end of finding out Gus's backstory and what he really did growing up and how he was the bully, and then him, like, redeeming himself to these kids and being like, I promise you, like, I learned from my mistakes and I learned from what I did as a child. Like, you guys are going to be okay. You're going to make it. Yeah. I just love that movie so much. It's just so good. I don't know.
And I think this fits into what I talk about. I feel like almost every episode is this like 2000 era movies that like had this vibe to them. And they don't make movies like that anymore. Where like really they just had something in the air back then. I don't know what it was.
It's just like the sense of community back then too. That makes sense. Yeah. You know.
Maybe everyone was on the same wavelength with like humor. Like everyone was just like locked in and like knew exactly like what would make everyone like laugh.
Right.
But it's
like it gets to a point. I'm sorry, this is like a side note, but I'm going on a rant right now. It just gets to to a point where it's just like, okay, now you're just trying too hard. It's just cringy. Like, speaking of, again, sidetrack, Shrek 5 is coming out. And I'm like,
the animations kill me. I can't do it. That's the one reason I'm like, don't want to do it.
And honestly, I'm so scared because I'm like, please don't
ruin it.
Yeah.
I didn't really have an issue with the Shrek 5.
It's not a sports film, but, you know, I just have to say
that. No.
I get it. I'm picking up your vibe.
We can, you know, we can go on sidetracks. But, no, Shrek 5. Shrek 5, I don't know. I don't get the complaints. I think Shrek looks normal. I think everyone else looks normal.
Really?
From like the 5-second clip we got. I don't, because they put the comparison photos next to each other. Everyone's like, they're like, look at Shrek then and look at Shrek now, and it's like the exact same picture.
No, it's not. There's something different about it. The vibe is off. I'm not.
Maybe there's something I'm not seeing.
I'm not see how Pinocchio looked. He did not look like that.
I think he looked
okay.
Exactly
Now, Donkey,
like that.
I get it because you know they did age, but like. Fiona?
Yeah, but like they look like they aged backwards at some point.
I think they look. Oh, here's the picture. Yeah, no, like I think they look exactly the same. I don't see any difference. I mean, like other than like the updated animation, I don't see any difference between these two photos.
I think that they need to just say goodbye to the updated animations and go back to the original Shrek. I can't do it.
Pre-developed phase, like
bring back all the ancient stuff and just bring back my Shrek.
Oh man,
sure, yeah. And I saw people who were people wanted the like the Puss in Boots animation. If you like the newer one, like the movie there, the Last Wish or whatever, which you know, I don't know. I don't think that fit.
I have a confession. I didn't really like that.
You didn't?
Puss Boots, nah.
Yeah, fair.
Not really.
I think I saw the first one because there's two of them,
with
isn't
the egg
there?
guy? With Humpty Dumpty?
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
I actually don't know if I've seen
the first one had Humpty Dumpty, and the second one had the wolf guy who was trying to kill him.
I think I've seen the first one.
Yeah.
I have not seen the second one.
Yeah.
It's a good movie. I was a fan. I think I watched it during like finals last year, and it was just totally like
It's such a finals vibe.
it was like I was done with my finals, and I'm like, I'm gonna watch Puss in Boots because like, I deserve this.
What else would you do?
Exactly. No. It was like it had just gone on Netflix, and I was like, I've gone through enough this week. I deserve some Puss in Boots,
I love going onto Netflix or any of these streaming apps and like getting on and immediately finding an old nostalgic movie that I'm like, oh my God, I haven't seen that in years. Like we were talking about Holes before we started.
Yeah.
That's a movie where I could find it on a streaming app and be like, I'm turning it on right now.
That was one I used to like watch like I feel like every other month when I was
that's such a timeless like good movie. You come back to the 2000's movies. Like there's something that hits different about a 2000's
always
movie.
come back. It always comes back to some 2000's movie.
Because
it's like amazing, and I'm like,
that era really set the tone for films. I don't care. Beat me up.
I think we need to like identify like this era and like call it that. Like this is the
2000's era.
The 2000's era, and we all need to be on the same page about it and know exactly what we're talking about.
Oh, have you seen The Challengers?
I watched it last night for the first time.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, what did you think about it?
I thought it was really good. For a second though, I was like, what is the plot to this? Like, I feel like it is sort of plotless.
Tripped up on it, but to be honest, I kind of got it like the first watch. I'm like, oh, okay, this makes sense.
I did, because my roommate's seen it before, so she was helping me piece things together. My big question, I was so angry at the end, it literally ended, I said, who won the match? I was like, are we like actually being serious right now? I know that it's supposed to be like
the friends
like a reunite, like they reunited, but who won? I have so many unanswered questions.
She did at the end.
She won. She
did. She was the winner. No, I loved that movie, and I have a few friends that are like beyond obsessed with it too. So I texted them and was like, "Who won?" But I was also like, "That was a really good movie." Like I highly enjoyed it.
And that director, he had two movies in 2024, and neither of them got nominated, I don't think, for Oscars, which is really a little frustrating for me personally.
I've heard a lot of frustrations about Challengers not winning a single thing.
And then Queer was also just didn't get nominated, which is an amazing movie. If you guys haven't seen it yet, definitely check it out. Daniel Craig.
I was going to say I haven't seen that one, but I always see like Drew Starkey.
Oh, it's
I love him.
There was a great profile, I think, either New York Times or New Yorker did it on Daniel Craig like for that movie, and it was just, it's great. He puts up a great performance. I won't say too much about it though. It's kind of a weird. Near the end, it gets a little like surreal. It's one of those movies where it's like normal for like 2/3, and then the last third is like whoa. You know? But yeah.
Yeah, I would say my favorite, I guess, like subcategory of like sports movies most definitely is basketball. You know, I grew up watching Space Jam. That's my movie. I love that. And a recent one that I did watch, I think it's called Air. It's basically like a biopic about like, you know, like the Jordans and things like that. But it's a good movie. You guys should watch it. And then White Man Can Jump. That's a good movie too.
Did you ever watch? I think it's called Thunderstruck or Thunder.
Is it with Kevin Durant?
One, yeah.
My cousin used to love them. Oh my gosh.
Kevin Durant basically gives his his basketball power to like a kid on accident. Like you know how it's like in Space Jam how they like how they like take the basketball from the
and the newer Space Jam with LeBron, was it LeBron James? Yeah, I think it was LeBron.
Yeah.
I don't know, I wasn't really fond of that. It was just,
I like that scene where Michael B. Jordan comes out.
Yeah.
We got Michael Jordan, and then it's him.
He's like, hey, that's wrong.
That's like all I remember from that movie, if I'm being honest.
But I was gonna say I haven't watched the new one. I've only watched the old one. So
yeah.
I mean, they're both, you know, Looney Tunes. Gotta love Looney Tunes, but obviously the first one's gonna be a classic.
So is baseball like the only sports, you know, subcategory you guys like, or do you guys like football films? Or?
I honestly could not give you a football movie. Oh no, I can. Longest Yard with Adam Sandler.
Okay. I thought you were going to say The Blind Side. I'm like, we did not discuss that movie. No.
No, we're not talking about The Blind Side.
And Remember the Titans. Remember the Titans is a fantastic movie.
Oh, yeah.
I would say, like, baseball is probably up there with my favorite sports category.
Yeah.
Hockey is obviously up there, but I haven't watched as many like movies as I have documentaries about hockey, because like there's been a couple out about the Russian Five from the Red Wings and Fight Night at the Joe about the Red Wings and Miracle and all that stuff. So like hockey's up there, but I'm more of a documentary kind of gal with hockey. Yeah. And then there's baseball, which is just timeless.
Oh yeah,
always gonna be great baseball movies coming out.
Oh yeah. Okay, well, Jack, can you promise me you're gonna watch Creed 3? Because
I will watch Creed 3.
It really delved into more of his like emotional aspect. You know, like
and you know what? That's how we'll start next week's episode. How about that? I will watch Creed 3 before next Monday.
Yes,
and then we'll talk about it. That's my homework. My reeling it in
and
homework.
And my homework is finishing Ted Lasso for sure. Because that show is really funny.
Yeah, for sure. No, you gotta. Well, this has been Reeling It In.
I'm Kyra Mabone.
And I'm Jack Williams. And thank you for tuning in. Remember, if you have any film opinions or anything else you want to share with us, if you agree with anything we've said or disagree, email me at jack.williams@statenews.com, and we'll be sure to talk about it on the show.